Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and I forgot the spreadsheet had a bit of a hissy fit last week. It's got even worse. I think I'm going to need to find a new data source saying can't fetch crypto prices. That's where I was getting prices from, but yeah, might have to have a bit of a switch around. Rest assured, the portfolio isn't sort of practically zero, and I love this pie chart now. Honey at 32% and Gito at 68. That's an incredibly degen portfolio. No, I'm exactly the same. Price is down, or portfolio's down 20,000 this week, about 4%. Still sort of struggling on Bitcoin especially, but yeah, we'll have to see where things go. Looking at the coin shares report, we knew this was going to be relatively red, and it was quite red. 1.43 billion, biggest outflow we've seen in quite a while. Back to sort of, well, what is that, 35 weeks ago. So yeah, interesting. Or 25 weeks ago from looks of it, actually. So yeah, Bitcoin was sort of providing most of that outflow, 1.03 billion in outflows. That's sort of, well, I suppose a reasonable amount of the total AUM. 178 billion in total AUM now. 440 million out of Ethereum. That's sort of a little bit higher percentage of total AUM actually, and they have been sort of pretty strong the previous sort of few weeks. We'll check on the more recent flows. That's sort of been a little bit better. Solana and XRP though still seeing inflows. 12 million on Solana and 25 million on XRP. So very strong. 12.9 million out of SUI, so yeah, that's quite a large portion of AUM, and some smaller ETFs getting reasonable inflow as well. Chainlink 2.1, Cardano 2.9, Kronos 4.4 million. They just had the Trump announcement that they want to put a $6.4 billion Kronos treasury together. I'm not quite sure how that works. Didn't think there was even that much Kronos sort of on the market. So yeah, that was a little bit odd, and Kronos has sort of gone up 150% or something. A token that I held a long while ago. And looking at by country, obviously US is the vast majority of it, but 135 million out of Sweden takes them. They were a net outflow in 2024 actually, so yeah, a little bit unusual. Not sure, that must be old ETFs if they were a net outflow in 2024, but still have 4 billion in total assets. So yeah, reasonable amount from them, and sort of fairly small numbers everywhere else. Slight bit from Germany, and 1.3 billion out of the US. 6 million from other as well. So none of these. Looking at the little Diddy Solana one, did get some reasonable inflow, sort of accelerating all week really. Monday was a slight negative, Tuesday 0, and then 1 million, 11.3 million, and 15.8 million to end the week. So quite a nice little week for Solana. Sort of 15 million, biggest inflow they've had. Can't remember, I don't think 12th of August was back at the start, but yeah, certainly for a couple of weeks at least. And Ethereum sort of picking up again reasonably. Monday sort of 443 million, 445, 300, largely sort of led by BlackRock. A little bit going into the new grayscale as well. A little bit going into the old grayscale, which is absolutely bonkers, although they had 29 million outflow and then reasonable outflow on Friday. Thursday was sort of a fairly quiet week. BlackRock sort of cooling down, and then 0 for BlackRock on Friday, and Fidelity sort of outflowing a little bit, Bitwise outflowing a bit. So we got 164 million outflow on Friday. But overall, you take these a couple of 400s and 300, it's a net positive for the week. Quite heavily, really. And the Bitcoin side hasn't been quite as good. Monday was 219 million, pretty good. Then it sort of dropped to double figures for a couple of days, and then 178 on Thursday. And same as Ethereum, an outflow on Friday, although BlackRock was still positive for the whole week. This was coming from ARK, of course, the emotional investors, as I like to call them, and Fidelity. So, yeah, interesting there, but we'll have to see sort of what comes into the end of the year. A lot of people still sort of saying that the US market is sort of on holiday and not really interested in anything, so maybe they start to come back in the next week. Looking at the treasury companies, we did get a reasonably large buy from Strategy, 3,081. That's not as big as, some of their previous buys, but for the last sort of few weeks at least, or month or two, it's relatively big. 115,000 their buy price, so that's quite significantly, $7,000 above the current price. Not ideal. Does increase their average price to 73,500 as well, so pushing that reasonably higher. DDC Enterprise now hold 888. Whether that's a nod to the Chinese, with that being a lucky number, don't know, but they bought 200. And then, yeah, it was fairly quiet. An awful lot of pictures of Michael Saylor as opposed to buys. We sort of got, a lot of talking about their percentage returns and that sort of thing. He sort of does that generally when there isn't that much buying. 46 Bitcoin from H100, another one from DDC Enterprise, another 120. So they're sort of relatively keen. Smarter Web Company purchased 45. It's a fairly small buy for them. They had been doing sort of 200 to 250. And yeah, not a huge amount else, I don't think. Lots more pictures of Michael Saylor. Nice shining sort of reference there. And yeah, I think that was it. There you go. So a couple of Masari reports. Obviously, I don't hold XRP now, but it is sort of top 5 or third, I believe, just after Ethereum. So it's worth sort of keeping an eye on their metrics, sort of seeing if they're a worthy competitor to my holdings. So I will take a look, maybe just at the key metrics, and obviously this is ending June, so it is quite late. We've had nearly 2 full months today since this report came out, but yeah, you see daily active addresses at 75,000, down quite a lot from Q1, but sort of up from their previous quarters. They were in the sort of 20s a year ago. So yeah, 75,000. Daily transactions similar, sort of as expected, I suppose. 1.6 million, down from 2 million, but sort of down from Q3 and Q4 actually. It was only sort of on a year ago that's quite significantly up. New addresses, 300,000, so yeah, similar numbers. Issued currencies, 380 million, not a huge change. Limit order books, 8.8 million. Sort of a lot of these figures are broadly the same. Better than worse than Q1, but sort of up on a year ago. Except NFT transactions, that's 50,000 for the quarter, up from 15 last quarter. It was 41 in Q4 last year, but sort of in single figures this time last year. So 50,000, not quite sure what they're doing with NFTs, whether it's sort of, JPEGs of a squirrel or whether it's actually something useful. But yeah, interesting for them. So yeah, there wasn't a huge amount else to see on this. As I say, it's not a token that I hold, but worth sort of keeping an eye on. They seem to be doing reasonably well, but maybe not sort of 150 billion market cap well, or close to, what is it, 250, 300 billion on a fully diluted basis. The team still control sort of 45%, I think, of the supply and keep releasing that every month at quite an aggressive pace. So it's always a bit of a headwind for price. So yeah, that's XRP at least. We did have Radium as well, launching their new product Launch Lab, a token launchpad, sort of similar to Pump.Fun. So yeah, Pump.Fun obviously removing their their partnership with Radium to launch their tokens, creating their new Pump.Fun launchpad as well, or sort of, integrating their exchange as opposed to pushing them onto Radium. They partnered with Bonk Fun to create this new launchpad, and volumes seem to be pretty strong. They're sort of competing with Pump Fun. Launch Lab flipped Pump Fun in volume between July the 6th and August the 5th. So that's pretty strong. I guess they're mentioning about sort of post Q2 developments as well, because some of these numbers are pretty weak, it has to be said. Daily average DEX volume nearly 70% down from Q1. Obviously, I sort of mentioned in the Solana numbers, Q1 had Trump token and just sort of general ecstatic volume on meme coins and that sort of thing. So yeah, not a huge surprise, although Q2 was 3.2 billion, so it's a third of that, but similar to sort of Q2 and Q3 last year. So yeah, not ideal, but not horrendous. Daily average fees though is down half year on year as well, so not ideal. DEX volume at 29%. Had some new DEXs. I expect Pump.Fun's one is going into that as well. So they've lost a bit of share. And global DEX volume, so including Ethereum and everything, they're down to 6.6%, which is up actually year on year. And then yeah, Launch Lab volume. So it launched sort of in late Q2, I guess, 1.1 billion, and they're saying has increased quite significantly. So yeah, that's pretty strong, and it equals DEX volume. Obviously, with these significantly reduced DEX volume and fees and everything, the buybacks are down, 4.3 million tokens bought back compared to sort of 15 million and 13 million. And you get the usual, when these were sort of spiking to 15 million, obviously people then start annualizing that and saying, if they're doing 15 million every quarter, maybe that grows to 20 million and they'll be buying 80 million back per year. And, it's just sort of frothy and, projecting the best possible thing you can. And, if you sort of annualize 4 million, you're not getting to 80 million. So I always think err on the side of caution, basically. And yeah, the rest of this report is sort of basically things have been down in Q2, but looking up, especially with their new launchpad. So, and they're trying to sort of get integrations in other exchanges and sort of push new revenue streams, but it's a difficult market out there. Was a little bit of large treasury news, I suppose. There's a new Dutch crypto firm, Amdax, which launched and had a $23 million buy from the looks of it. But interestingly, they have a sort of ambitious goal to acquire 1% of all Bitcoin, so 210,000 Bitcoin, which would put them sort of very, very high up on the treasury list. I believe second. That would be second. So yeah, Metaplanet, I believe, have a sort of very similar target. So you start getting more and more of these companies, with sort of 1% targets, 200,000 BTC. It does put a bit of a knock in the like 1 Bitcoin for every millionaire stat that people have always sort of come out with. Although, you could get millionaires and multi-millionaires holding some shares of these companies. People hold shares of strategy and sort of by proxy, I suppose, own over 1 Bitcoin. So yeah, that would still be a fairly large acquisition, though. Currently worth 23 billion to try and acquire 210,000. Whether they can do that without affecting the price, be interesting to see. But yeah, thought that was a reasonably strong announcement. Always nice to see fundamentals sort of picking up as well. Do keep an eye on Helium Mobile, and yeah, their numbers are looking very, very strong. Just pushed to all-time highs yesterday. 1.619 million daily users and an enormous amount of daily transfer, 54 terabytes pretty much in one day. So yeah, it doesn't seem to be affecting price just yet, but at least, fundamentals looking up. I'd sort of somewhat prefer it to the other way, I suppose. I suppose if price was going up, then I could just be taking profits, but you're always wary if fundamentals are getting worse. So yeah, the hotspots had another reasonable increase as well, 102,000 to 109. It sort of goes in these lumpy moves, and Helium Mobile sign-ups are obviously rocketing up because they've got the free tier. I would have thought they don't break it out into free and paid, which I think is probably on purpose, because they don't want to show like potentially all of this growth or a large amount of this growth is free users, and they're trying to say these free users will switch onto a paid plan at some point. But yeah, users is users, I suppose, and at least the daily users and transfer rates are up. Transfers could be from paid subscribers, paid customers of other networks, AT&T and Verizon, and people offloading their usage sort of when it isn't profitable for them. So yeah, good to see. A little bit rough potentially for the miners. Obviously, I've done very, very well off herein this week, and Hive and sort of Riot picking up. But yeah, the actual underlying Bitcoin doesn't look all that good. Obviously, that gain has been largely AI related, and yeah, you've got sort of the awful combo of price going down and difficulty, it would seem, going up. Hash rate admittedly has come down to 984. I don't like it coming down to 984, but it has been sort of relatively consistently above 1 zeta hash for a little while now, and so that has done wonders to the next difficulty adjustment. We're on 9.43 minutes per average block now, and if it stays that way, this coming Friday we will have a 6% increase to difficulty. So yeah, this affects basically the hash price as sort of what most Bitcoin miners would be looking at. It doesn't really matter what what Bitcoin price is if hash rate is up. So hash price is basically how profitable it is to mine, and difficulty up and Bitcoin price down is appalling for that. Just looking at the global liquidity chart, still obviously keeping an eye on this, because it was a sort of fairly close correlation since the ETFs launched, and it was sort of a little bit, quite a bit looser correlation before that. But we've certainly seen continuing expansion of this divergence between the two. Bitcoin price sort of coming down since 13th of August, and the 12-week delayed M2 supply increasing during that time. So we're getting crocodile jaws now. This is, I think, easily the largest divergence we've had so far. So whether we're due a very, very large spike in short order, I don't know. But the spike that we've got here is 21st of September, so 3 weeks away at 100 in Bitcoin implied price of about 180,000, which, at 109 seems very, very unlikely. I suppose one saving grace, there was a little bit of chop around here for a month or two, sort of implying a lot of Bitcoin potential chop around September and October, but the M2 supply has broke a new high at 100 and sort of implied 183,000 price. So around November time, which everyone always says November, December time would be the top. I don't think we can sort of go by that anymore. The sort of Bitcoin cycle theory, I think Bitcoin's very much tied into the sort of macro, global macro markets, stock markets and everything. So yeah, we'll have to see, but nice to see liquidity break a new high. Still sort of unsure as to whether this correlation is still holding or not. Oh, and the portfolio has somewhat fixed itself, all apart from Solana. So very nice. Coins for the week. Bitcoin down 4.88%. Not good at all. Solana has been holding up a lot better actually, 0.66%. Ethereum down 5.89%. Chainlink down 6.73. Chainlink and Ethereum sort of had been outperforming, so it's not a huge surprise. Radium down 3.38%. Jito up 1.4%. Helium down 2.4%, despite sort of hitting new all-time high metrics. Metaplex up 6.7%, so that's not too bad considering. That's outperformer for the week. And of course, underperformer for the week, Honey at 10.8%, the Hive Mapper token. So yeah, not great at all. Oh, and there's me just realising that I had Hive Mapper as a manual figure, and I haven't adjusted that for a while. So yeah, had to knock that down a little bit. That is by far the worst performer, certainly now. So, leave your thoughts in the comments below. We've had a bit of a rough week, but hopefully more to come. And, maybe we just get more to come on the miners side if you're in the miners as well. So, yeah, like and subscribe. See you soon.